Hey everybody, Jordan Caballero here. Excited to have my friend Scott Thomas from Habitat Humanity from Monterey Bay here with me today just to learn more about the programs that they offer and the great work that they're doing locally here in Monterey County and Santa Cruz County. So, Scott, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, no, I appreciate the time and the ability to speak to people in Monterey looking to buy their first home.
Yeah, so we first connected, I think, at a Monterey Peninsula Chamber event and kind of talked about maybe, having this talk together. So I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Hmm.
So during the day, I work for the Monterey County Business Council, and that's actually how I got to work with our mutual friend, Captain Seiler, who's the CEO
Hmm.
for Habitat for Humanity Monterey Bay. We were classmates together in leadership Monterey County.
Oh,
So
fun.
it was very cool. And I'm also, though, a licensed realtor. And so housing, affordability, down payment assistance, all those things are just issues that are constantly coming up. And my wife and I are currently considering buying our first home. So we're looking at
Oh,
different things.
congrats.
Yeah. And I've helped a lot of clients over the years. I've been a realtor for almost 7 years. And so I've just seen it all, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly of the process. And obviously we know that California is one of the most expensive states in the country, and Monterey Bay being one of the most expensive regions of the country. And yet we have folks from all, ends of the economic spectrum here living locally. And so it's definitely an issue that's super important. Obviously, housing is vital. Affordability is a big issue and a big barrier. I know from Sacramento down to our local governments, they're always kind of trying to figure out ways to make things more affordable or accessible. And I know Habitat Humanity, it's a big part of your mission. So can you tell us just more about your personal history
Hmm.
and more about your work with Habitat and the programs they offer?
Sure. Yeah, no, I've been working for Habitat for Humanity for about a year and some change now. I had worked in affordable housing on the rental side, and I had come over to Habitat to work with their state program for Monterey, for mortgage assistance in Santa Cruz County, specifically mortgage assistance for farm workers we have as well. Habitat for Humanity, Monterey Bay is a contractor with California's Housing and Community Development, which is overseen by the governor and the executive branch of California. And they gave us money in Santa Cruz County to provide gap financing down payment assistance to first-time home buyers in the area. One specifically for the community at large, and another for farm workers, farm worker families. So it doesn't even have to be a full employee list of people in the household. It could be somebody who works part-time as a cleaner for an agricultural company. So it was really cool to come in and see and figure out how to give out all this money, the compliance that we have to go on. Kind of speaking to you and the affordability side, like what does affordable housing look like in the home ownership spectrum, in terms of dealing with the financial services, the realtor services, the lender services, a renter
Yeah.
myself. I don't really know how any of that worked when I
Yeah,
first came in. And
it's
it's been a
complicated.
real crash course. Oh my gosh, yeah. And the test you have to take. I'm a qualified lender here as well because we do offer lending services technically. What we give out in terms of this down payment assistance is a loan.
Okay.
So it's a loan at 0% and it's up to $100,000. And this is what we're rolling out in Monterey County as well. We just got approved for the funds for the public at large and for agricultural workers down there in Monterey County. So we're really looking to find those people such as yourself kind of cracking that first home barrier, looking at all the houses that are available in Monterey. And it's cool because it's like a whole county wide thing. So Salinas, Monterey Peninsula, going down to the South County, we're able to impact with these funds. We are gap financiers as well. So we do expect people to kind of save and prep up for the expenses of owning a home, but we're able to make it affordable for their monthly payment. So California Housing and Community Development, or HCD for short, they define affordability as your total monthly payments for housing have to be 30% or less of your total monthly income. And with the
Yeah.
region being so expensive, a lot of people are able to buy their first home, but it's 40%, 50% of their
Yeah.
monthly income.
Yeah.
Half a check is going to that. So that's what we're really trying to come in with this money, this closing cost. We're trying to reduce that 40% down to that 30%. So you can use the other money for savings, childcare, gas, all the other things that are getting more expensive with life. and allowing people to live a sort of
Yeah,
more copacetic financial life.
it's great. You follow a lot of these financial gurus on social media or authors, and a lot of them are based in the South, right? So
Hmm.
or Tennessee specifically. I can think of a few financial gurus that are in Tennessee. And obviously, it's expensive everywhere, but the Southern economy is very different than the West Coast economy in that just the cost of living. So a lot of times they'll say, oh, it should never be more than 25% of your take-home pay should you spend on housing. Well, that's factoring for a much different region, a much different economy, right? As Californians, we understand that, yeah, for a lot of us, sometimes it's more 40 to 60% in some cases. And that's why we're seeing some of this crisis, right? So, not everybody's going to be able to live in the city of Santa Cruz or the city of Monterey, or unfortunately, even now the city of Salinas is becoming too expensive for a lot of folks,
Yep.
which I think hopefully that will balance out a little bit in the future. But that's just the reality because of the lack of building, the lack of housing. The scarcity of inventory has created the demand, has created the surge in pricing. So that's part of the challenge. So my personal opinion is
Hmm.
that, of course, I think we do need more affordable housing, but a lot of times with those affordable housing programs, a lot of developers don't want to do it, or it comes with a lot of strings attached. And so you end up being in partnership. You can never really sell your home and build equity like you could with a market rate home.
Hmm.
So I do believe in those programs because that is the only possible way for some folks, which is important. But I also think what's really missing is housing that's affordable. And I'm talking about middle class, lower middle class, families that are just starting out. Maybe they have student loan debt. They're starting to get into their careers and make good income, but they're not in the luxury market, but they're also not qualifying for some of these assistance programs. And
Right. Yeah.
I would say the majority of people in Monterey County are in that category where, let's say their household income is, 80 to 200,000, which sounds like a lot, but in California, it's really not.
No, and I would honestly urge a lot of people to do this homework about researching what is low income, what is very low income, because it's all based on the county that you live in. And those are also the numbers that we have to work in with these programs, those numbers that people have to follow in order to either raise their income or sometimes lower their income so they can fit into those programs. And that's one thing that's also very interesting about this program as well. It's hard to find these people. One, because the middle class is slowly disappearing in America, but then two,
Not slowly.
rapidly. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, yeah, we are nothing but a blip in time, as your word
Yeah,
reminds me. But then
yeah,
also, it's median income, right? So you've
yeah,
got to find that number in the middle. And that
right.
number in the middle is skewed with all the really expensive incomes that you have down in Monterey and with the really low incomes you have down in Monterey because of the
Yeah,
seasonality and the nature
yeah.
of farm worker labor. So finding those little niches of people is hard, but it's really nice with these programs because we can help families that never were going to enter in it. We get to help single people with this when they want to buy their condos. We get to help large families with single incomes as well, allowing them to live off that single provider breadwinner income. It is just really hard figuring out what does qualify as a reasonable income in your area, especially
Mhm.
with the inflated costs Santa Cruz has being so close to Santa Clara, Monterey equally as well. And the lack
Yep.
of programs in San Benito is really tough because that's where all the expansion is going. That's where all the growth and development is
Yes.
going. And that's one reason I was
Yes.
excited to kind of get introduced to you as well,
Yeah.
because I am interested in figuring out what do the builds look like down there, what do the new houses look down there? Because this money can be used for any home that you find that you can make affordable for your monthly payments. So
Yeah.
it's nice because it's a public affordability program that's not limited to a certain market. However,
Great.
though, that market is still really expensive. It's still really tough to crack. And
Yes.
especially with insurance in California too, that can push you over that 30%
Yeah.
limit. So
That's a whole other conversation. Yeah.
mhm,
So, from my understanding locally, the only places really that I see building are Marina and
mhm,
South County.
yeah.
Salinas is pretty gridlock right now as far as just locally and politically, and I know there's plans for future development, but when that's going to start, I'm not sure. There's a future growth area in North and East Salinas,
Okay.
but Marina is actively building, and South County is actively building. Greenfield, Soledad, they've done a lot down there, even King City and Gonzales as well. Um, but folks, I mean, I even as a with my realtor hat on, and people
Hmm.
say, okay, well, here's my budget. And the hard part is now rents are so high that people are thinking, well, if I'm paying this much in rent, why don't I own my own home? And that's a very logical conclusion. But it's more complicated than that, unfortunately. And even with some of these down payment assistance programs, some of them are not well enough promoted. Some of them are over promoted, or there's a lot of confusion or misunderstanding or misinformation. And I've seen this also with my work at the Business Council. People come in with a lot of, like, they hear what they want to hear. They come in with a lot of misinformation or half truth, or I heard somewhere, I saw somewhere, maybe it's on the radio or maybe it's on social media. Um, and, you know, we try our best, and I know you do as well, to help like translate and explain and articulate. Because a lot of times, if, for instance, with the Cal HAFA program,
Hmm.
that was by the state, and you had to go through the state to get applied, and that was gone right away.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so it's like people, by the time they hear about it, they feel like, one, going directly to Sacramento and dealing with a government agency is a non-starter for a lot of people.
Yeah, especially in August. No, thank you.
Yeah. And then not physically driving, but just calling or
Oh,
reaching out
true.
for
Yeah.
having, it's like going to the DMV, right? And people don't want to do it. And so then there's that. And then with that comes a lot of strings, and you just have to know that. Like it's a loan, or you're in partnership with your equity is also the state's equity. And so in some
Hmm.
cases, that's actually a good strategy. And others, it's like you got to read the fine print, right? And so
Totally.
explain how Habitat, like, you guys are a nonprofit,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
explain how you're different per se than just the state agency on itself. Like, why would someone go directly to Habitat versus going directly to the state?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, well, so we deal with the state, all that kind of collaboration and having to deal with the frustration and bureaucracy of the state is totally on us. However, that does take more time too. So these deals really can't be closed within 30 days. I have other jobs as well. I'm one of the only people reviewing bank stuff here. So it does take about 60 to 90 days to close. But at the end of the day, we're coming in at the title to close with that $100,000, reducing that payment. And it's a loan that you get at 0% interest. And that's the best part of it is while I haven't seen anybody have to pay that back because we do expect it in full, we don't collect monthly payments. But people are just going to refinance or sell or age in place and pass on in those homes. So those are how we collect that $100,000. It's about $249 a month to save $100,000, but usually people recoup that and pay that back in
You
the
mean in
30
the life of a
years
30-year loan?
exactly, or the
Oh,
life
okay.
of their home too. So they sell their home after they want to get something else, then we recoup the $100,000. And that's what's real cool too, because then we put it in another account and then we get to use it for another family for somebody down the line. The state keeps us in compliance for 30 years, looking at reports. I do quarterly reports. I have great relationships with California Housing and Community Development. We have great working relationships with the state. Flexibility, transparency, and just the advocacy of first-time homebuyers is something we're really feeling together.
Yeah.
And they even show that too when they showed up to our groundbreaking in Watsonville of our actual home build program too. So while we offer this program through the state, um, while connecting with the families and the lenders and the real estate agents too, we also build homes for sale as
Right.
well. That also these programs can potentially be used on. And
Awesome.
just kind of a side comment too, yeah, you're saying Marina is one of the places that are building. We'll actually have 9 homes going up to build later this year in like September, fall around that time too.
Yeah, which is exciting. Congratulations. That's huge progress, but we need thousands.
Hmm. Yeah, thousands. I
And
mean, the
so
whole.
that's what I'm like, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, I started paying more attention to this issue.
Hmm.
And obviously, when you're growing up, you don't think about it, but it's like we are really far behind on our RENA numbers as a county, right? Some
Hmm.
cities are better than others. And it's all the issues, right? Infrastructure, water, NIMBYism, which means not in my backyard, and all this
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And it's like, how do we balance protecting our limited natural resources with while also making sure that people have housing and access to, services, right? Because people usually are going to want to be close to transportation, close to schools, close to shopping, those kind of things. And
Hmm.
so the problem, for the most part, with Monterey County, you have a certain area that was very affluent and private. And then the rest of the county was kind of farm communities, older
Hmm.
farm communities that didn't have the foresight to build the infrastructure for the size that we are now. I mean, I think Monterey County is about 500,000 people, give or take.
Yeah.
And they're kind of concentrated in certain pockets. And a lot of that is due to the economy or due to infrastructure. And so, when a lot of these communities were started 50 to 100 years ago, um, they didn't plan ahead for what we have now. So now we have, all this open space and all this water, but it's concentrated in other places, not always where it
Yeah.
needs to be, right? And I know they've made a lot of progress in Fort Ord, but I still see a lot of abandoned buildings
There's
there,
whole
space there. I
neighborhoods
mean,
fenced off.
yeah, so it's like, man.
Crazy.
So I grew up in a little town called Castroville, which
Hmm.
is kind of the best kept secret. Don't tell anybody. It's a small little town, but it's actually next to the beach. But nothing
Oh.
ever comes available. And Castroville, I think, has more than its fair share of affordable housing. And yet some of
Yeah.
the peninsula cities always seem to escape that requirement. And so there's this kind of, this neighborly sibling rivalry of like, hey, like, why do we get all this temporary farm housing and yet the affordable housing is not in other communities, right? And so that's a
Hmm.
whole political hot button in and of itself. But
Totally.
all of that aside, I taking on the macro problems is it's not a waste of time, but it's not as productive, right? It's going to take a lot of your energy. It's going to lead to a lot of frustration, and you
Hmm.
can go down that rabbit hole, right? And I spend a lot of time on in city council and county supervisor meetings, just like you do, and it's overwhelming all the different parties and powers that be. But on a
Hmm.
micro level, on an individual client level, taking the time to walk someone through what's probably the most important decision and purchase of their life outside of maybe who they have, get married to or have kids with, like buying a home, where you buy it, when you buy it, all those kind of things really can alter the direction of your life. Obviously, we all need shelter, but beyond just renting a place to live, if you're going to buy a home, that for most people is your biggest financial investment.
Totally. No, I mean, we talk to the ones you love. We meet with the ones you love. We know very like intimate details about this process because we really care and we want to put you into the home that really it's a first time home, but for a lot of people, it's a forever home as well. And that's one thing I'm really excited with bringing this program to Monterey County because you can't affect a macro unless you affect a micro. And I saw that Monterey County they were chastised or there was a report, something about them not getting out the services on a certain level. And I'm excited to take this program and kind of improve that, make
Yeah,
sure that we can fulfill these resources here because with more services, more completed homes, more affected families, people will want to put more money into it. The government will want to put more money into it.
yeah.
Like those
See
state
results.
players can affect change, see what we do, and then make it better. And that's one of the crazy things about this too, is like working in affordable housing or working in building neighborhoods is what we're doing in Watsonville, helping to build the neighborhoods in Marina. You think about the total number of people that you can affect. And then I think of all the people that visit my home, like all the kids that were in my home growing up, all the uncles that
Yep,
would stay in your home, like
yep,
months on end, maybe looking for a job or just somebody's there for school kind of thing. Taxes when you build new homes for schools and how that helps somebody write or learn how to read. It really does affect people on a macro level, which is why it's
absolutely.
so hard when you get stuck on the micro level.
Yep.
But that's why I'm really thankful that California, the state of California, gave us this opportunity to get this money out there to the important agricultural economy that supports Monterey County, to the other general community at large that may need services. For example, the people in Moss Landing that got affected by those battery fires, I talked to a couple
Yep.
of those people. They're getting settlement money. They want to know what to do with this money for down payments, affordability structures, stuff like that. And it's those people in those kinds of situations we could potentially help one or two that affects their whole
Yeah.
life.
I love everything you're saying. As a realtor, I know it is a challenge. So technically, realtors are supposed to work with every program, every type of loan. But, you know, a lot of realtors are not going to take the time to do more work than they need to, right?
Hmm.
They just want to close the deal and move on. Some clients don't want to work with a government program. They don't want to work with a VA lender. They don't want to work with FHA. And depending on the property, if it's a well-priced, desirable property in the right neighborhood and school district, they can demand the price they want, they can demand the terms they want.
Hmm.
Other properties, you know, some sellers are unrealistic, but other properties are a little bit more open to negotiation for whatever reason, right? Because maybe the condition, maybe the location. And so they're more, I always tell clients, you don't want to make an offer unless you really are ready financially. You don't want to make an offer on the house that just hit the market that's checks all your boxes because it's going to be very competitive. Now, if you want to go make that offer, be ready to be uncomfortable and move quickly and go
Hmm.
above what you think you want to do. You're not going to have a lot of room to negotiate in that scenario. However, if you're willing to look at something that's been on the market for, let's say 3 weeks to a few months, um, you never know what the reason is. You have to do your homework, make sure, the roof's not falling apart or it's infested with termites or whatever. But if it's just, sometimes properties just aren't priced right or they don't perform well, whatever the case may be. I try to tell clients, let's look at things that are a little bit on the market a little bit longer. They might have more flexibility. The sellers and the realtors might be a little more open to a program like this, or because if it's going to take 90 days to close, not everybody wants that. But there are going to be certain sellers that are going to say, perfect, we're not in any rush. We'd rather see a first time family get their home. Others are just about the money. They don't care who it goes to. Others specifically will say, I'll only sell to a veteran, or I only want to sell to a first time buyer, not to a corporation. Or, every seller's different and they have a right to do what they want with their property. But as an agent, you just have to, you have to be flexible and you have to know the products that are out there. So I'm very grateful to be learning this from you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, talking to lenders and real estate agents that really take the time and like take a pause to make sure that programs are responsible for buyers is something that's huge. Um, it's a real pleasure, and I learn a lot from talking to folks like you, the clients that you work with. We will be having an event too to kind of teach people what real estate agents are in the community at the Monterey Housing Authority down in Salinas as well. So.
What is that?
Um, so we're doing it with their family support, yeah, family support supervisor program, and then the Monterey Bay Council of Realtors will also be there too to kind of chat and introduce people to
Right.
um, what programs that we have. We're looking for applicants for Marina as well. We had over 100 applicants for the first phase of 3 homes in Watsonville. We had to deny 75. So we are going to start looking to take applications, looking at financials, figuring out what is available for people, what will work for them responsibly too. Because that is a thing as well, is like we got to make sure 30 years is good because we've got the government looking at this. We've got other vested parties looking at this. You want to make sure you're good for those 30 years.
Well, and
So,
that's what, yeah, and I appreciate that. I try to tell folks as well, like, is there a need for unrestricted, affordable, government subsidized housing? Yes, there's programs for that, right? Like Section 8 or various programs.
mhm,
That's not kind of what we're talking about. If you want to be a homeowner and you just need assistance with the down payment or the closing costs,
yeah,
but you also know that you also have to have skin in the game.
mhm,
There are
yeah,
going to be taxes. There are going to be expenses out of your pocket. Even though you might get support from the state and from Habitat for Humanity, don't think this is all just going to be easy and free. And so I have learned over the years to be very direct with people and like manage their expectations. And For some folks, it's not the right time and they are thinking it's going to be free and easy. That's not the case. But if others, I had a client that I met at an open house and I was working with them for a while and we toured a few properties and they were looking at maybe buying a mobile home. Well, they were
Mhm.
fortunate to get um, on the Marina program, the below rent or below market rate program for the city of Marina.
Cool.
Again, they were like one of 100 applicants. I think she works for the Monterey Bay Aquarium and you know she's like a I don't know if she has her PhD, but a master's in biology and or you know marine science, and the husband's great. They have a young child, great clients. Unfortunately, when they went with the city of Marina, I lost them as a client and couldn't help them there. But that was fine because I was happy they got a home. They got a home in a location and a quality of home that probably
Wow.
market rate would be 1.2 million. They probably got it for half that. And so they're
Nice.
so grateful, right?
Yeah.
Now they probably can't ever resell it for market rate, but they don't care because they got the home
Hmm.
right where they want to be. So in
Totally.
that case, even though I lost a client, I was super grateful because they
Oh.
got what they were looking for. And we need to start celebrating more of those stories.
Hmm.
Um, because a lot of the homes that are being built in Marina, let's be honest, are not for the locals. They're for the retirees coming from Silicon Valley who
Sacramento.
or Central Valley who want a coastal home. And a lot of, I mean, if you're talking about $1 million home or a $1.5 million home, you're talking about, you know, six to $10,000 a month in housing expenses. And if we use that ratio, you're talking about 30%. So that means that their income, I mean, you do the math, right?
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
like that is not the average person in Monterey County.
No,
And I
no.
do agree, instead of using averages for income or sales, we need to use the median. Median income and median price of a home is more telling.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, it is fascinating. It's been wonderful, strangely learning about how all the incomes and the median affect these programs, what the economy looks like, what the market really looks like. I did learn in Monterey County, houses are going down. It went down like 1.5%, something like that, too, which makes that 30% a little
Tell the
confusing.
sellers that.
I guess that's the average. That's the problem with the average then. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, it's been great just honestly helping the people that also work in the area stay here as well. A lot of the people we talk to, they're like, so what'd you do before? Where'd you live before here? And it's a lot of parents, it's a lot of moving around to different spots, being in remote areas when you need to be closer to the road and vice versa as well. And then everybody's like, yep, I was looking about moving. We wanted to go to Los Baños. We wanted to go to San Benito, Hollister, stuff that's like an hour and a half away. So we've
yeah,
helped keep people stay in the area that they grew up because it is important to house those people that work and like live for you. Like,
absolutely. I mean, the goal is that everyone can live where they work. But in coastal California, that's not always the reality, right?
hmm.
And we know that even though a lot of us maybe have been here for generations, somewhere along the line, someone in our lineage moved from one place to another in search of a better opportunity, right? For whatever reason, or because they were escaping something. In this case, too, just because you grew up here does not mean you're guaranteed to stay here. And I know that that
Hmm.
ruffles some feathers and that offends some people. I wish that wasn't the case. I'm from here, and trust me, we've all looked at the prices of out of state, and for my family, we've just decided, well, we'll pay the extra cost because we love it that much and we're able to make it work. But could we have an easier life in a cheaper state? Probably.
Hmm.
Is California gonna all of a sudden overnight be the same prices as Mississippi? No, and that's for a reason, right? And so either you figure out how to make it work and we can work to make things better, but ultimately this is going to be a high cost of living state. That's never going to change. Now, through these types of programs, though, we can make it more accessible through education, through having lenders and realtors who understand these programs. We can help the right people. And we can talk about, oh, the system's broken and it's rigged and all this. Cool. That's not helping anybody, right? If you want to, whatever political stance you want to take and march in the streets, go for it. I'm here to actually take people who want to get homes, get them into homes. And
Mhm.
that's fighting against homelessness. That's fighting against the housing crisis. And it's a process, and you have to be patient, and you have to know the terms, and you have to know the programs, and you have to be, it's a roller coaster.
Oh
And so
yeah.
that's what you're doing, hopefully, as a lender and as a realtor. You're working as a team with the client to get them across the finish line. And if that means that you have to use a program, but also understand what they are, why one is better than the other, all those
Mhm.
things.
Totally. Yeah. What your commitments are to it. I really just came to Habitat for Humanity to give the government's money away. And slowly but surely, we're able to do it. We're able to recoup that money. And by doing this, we can create an infrastructure where these small but sure programs can exist for 10 families throughout 30, 60, 90 years, the real 30-year increments, long before I'll ever be here as well, too. I
Yeah.
mean, generational means a long, long time,
Yeah.
and they have to start at the first year some year. So I'm excited to get it out, and hopefully we continue it going.
Well, we're so grateful for the work that you do, and I'm going to continue to follow up with you. We look forward to doing some events together, maybe some workshops.
Yeah,
And
lovely.
if people wanted to find you, where can they find you personally, and how can they learn more or get connected to Habitat for Humanity Monterey Bay?
Well, you can definitely visit our website. We have an About Us page that has all of our contact information. It has my picture, our team, and our services. You can find me on LinkedIn by my Google. You can email me, Scott at habitatmontereybay.org. And then, yeah, call our offices, come by. We have great thrift stores, great restores. In Seaside, it's by the old like army bases, and they've got great like new appliances that you can use to upgrade your home for much cheaper. Same with furniture. The Watsonville one on Main Street's really great as well too. Amazing furniture, stuff for your businesses, your homes, anything to indirectly improve the quality of your homes. And you can visit us there, and we're happy to see you. They're open 10 to 4 every day, uh, Monday through Sunday.
Very cool. Scott, thank
Mhm.
you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing the knowledge and the resources of these programs with us. And even if one person, watches this or hears this and it's what they needed to take that next step,
Yeah,
it was worth our time, and I'm grateful to help. And so I definitely want to be one of those community leaders and one of those realtors who is versed in all of this so that we can, support clients, because I know that there are those out there and those that are listening that are going to benefit from this. So thank you so much for your time,
you're
and
very
let's continue
welcome.
the conversation.
Totally. Yeah, I look forward to working with you in the future. Have a great rest of your
Awesome, man.
week.
Take care.
Bye.